If you find yourself discouraged from meditation, or maybe you go times where you meditate and then times where you don't want to meditate, this can be very helpful. We usually start meditation because we think is good for us. And honestly, we should never do anything because it's good for us. It never leads to anything that is beneficial in the end to us. We should do things because we love doing them. And to begin to love something, we have to find the reason why we do it. So in this video, I just want to cover how much we get discouraged into meditating and the different ways that the mind will come up with excuses for us to not meditate, where in reality, there's just one single reason why we don't meditate, and it's because we just don't love what happens during meditation. And for that, we need to understand the reason why we meditate. So I'm going to give you those reasons, and I'm also going to give you a practical way for you to continue to reinforce what we call disciplined meditation. You've probably heard that the mind is a great servant but a poor master. And that comes in the way that as we allow our minds to run our lives, then we find ourselves to be in distress, in disquietness, in suffering. Because the mind is like a child that if it doesn't have orientation, it's going to suffer. It's going to create these negative behaviors and these patterns that are not conducive to health or, let's say, inner peace. So it is a great servant though, because once it is seen for what it is, then it can be used for what it's meant to be. So a good question to ask ourselves is, am I a product of the mind, or is the mind a product of me? Right? Are we a product of the mind ourselves? Do we feel that we are a product of what the mind is telling us, asking us to do, and feel the way we are, define the way we should be because of the mind? Or is the mind being defined by us? Is the mind being a tool for what we want in life? So this is a great way for us to realize who's in control in this moment. Life experience, is it being told by the mind what to do, or is the mind being directed? This is what we call discipline. So to understand why discipline forms, we have to start by splitting this term into two. The one we usually are averted to, the one meaning that discipline has for a lot of people, is one of control or dominion. Like we are meant to control and be disciplined. That is a negative way to see discipline. The positive way to see discipline is one of practice and of understanding, of becoming that, right? Of training. And that moves a lot more with love. That's why I said at the beginning of the video, disciplined meditation should start from a place of love, loving what we do. So now let's go into what that means. What does it mean to love meditation? Well, I said that we have to understand the reason why we meditate. The reason why we meditate is to become aware of that which the mind is doing. Remember how I told you that if we are a product of the mind, then we're going to find ourselves like lost children. And we're going to suffer. We're going to feel alone. We're going to feel separate. And we're going to incur in these behaviors that are trying to satisfy a need of direction. So when we begin to observe our mind, when we begin to see what is it that the mind is doing in this moment, and why is it behaving the way it is, then a clarity starts to shine in understanding, into knowing our own mind. And we're going to find all sorts of conflicts, right? Those conflicts are simply there. And those are part of the workings of the mind because it is in conflict with itself. That's why it feels very stressful. That's why it feels very emotional because it's in conflict with itself. So what we do is simply observe what is. Solutions may arise. New insights will occur. This is the whole process of meditation, for these things to arise as the solution to the conflict, an alternative. Because conflict is always a two-way interest. One is going one way, the other one is going the other way. They meet and they can't accept each other. So through meditation, you just begin to see more of these alternatives. The thing is that we have conditioned the mind, or we could say the mind has been conditioned in a way that it behaves in an unconscious way. That means that it's acting simply out of the learned patterns and is always doing the same patterns. You have to realize that those patterns are there and you need to accept them because they are there for a reason. They kept you safe for a long time. Now they're not needed anymore because we're seeking an alternative that doesn't incur into these conflicts, into this struggle that we find ourselves to be, arising emotions, attitudes that are not the most conducive to our inner peace. And all of this just begins to be something that arises into our conscious attention. So this is the product of meditation. It's just becoming aware of that which is and how much we resist this. That's it. So now into the practical aspect of what to do is that one of the discouragements is, honestly, inside we feel like we don't know what we're doing, or we feel that it's not making any effect in our lives. So maybe I'm not sure what I should be doing in meditation. So it always comes down to that, to doubt, questioning what should be a good meditation, what is a bad meditation, how do I come out of these situations. So I'm going to relieve you from every possible doubt at this moment in your practice of meditation, while also giving you a non-excuse to meditate every day. The one reason that everybody says superficially why they don't meditate is because of time. So let's eliminate that. We need to have time for meditation. Anybody in the world can spend 10 to 15 minutes every day by excluding certain things in their day and including a time for meditation. Now, what's meant to happen in meditation? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Nothing preconceived or pre-programmed is meant to happen in meditation. Meditation should be a simple rest in whatever the mind state is, as we are aware of it. We simply become aware of that which is happening in the mind. We don't need to seek a particular state of mind, and we don't need to wait for a particular or special moment in our lives, in our day, to meditate. That's why any disciplined meditation would actually make more sense for the body and the mind to be always at the same time during the day. And everybody can find those 10 to 15 minutes every single day. That's a non-excuse. We don't need to meditate an hour. We don't need to meditate 45 minutes or 2 hours or whatever arbitrary number has been encoded in our minds that meditation is. Anybody can sit in silence for 10 to 15 minutes, even if that requires that they move, that they stand up, that maybe they need to shake their legs. It doesn't matter. There's no excuse for this. It's just taking 10 to 15 minutes to simply sit or be in silence without any external entertainment, we could say. Out of those 10 and 15 minutes, are we seeking something in the mind? Are we trying to relax the mind? We're not. We're simply becoming aware of that which is arising and falling away. There are so many things that we can explore in this simple dynamic of the mind's arising and falling, vibrations, modulations, that which is movement in the mind. But for now, we don't have to get any philosophical here. It's just about simply relaxing in the moment and allowing everything to arise and fall. You will see it. That's the key thing here. 10 to 15 minutes, no excuse for that, and we just simply allow that. What is this going to do? What you're doing is cultivating awareness and presence, regardless of the state of mind. It doesn't matter what the mind is doing in the moment. What you're doing is becoming aware of what it is. And so many things will come up, and so many things will try to respond to it. Disidentify from any of these thoughts and just simply allow presence to be in the moment. You're not judging yourself. You're not expecting anything in particular. You're not afraid of anything. It's your own mind. You're just observing it. You're not learning anything. You're not trying to extract something from it. You're simply becoming aware of your mind. If you do this discipline day after day after day, you're going to see many patterns. You're going to understand the way the mind is structured, your own mind. And you're going to see all those things that are creating the behaviors and the patterns. By simply becoming aware of those, you expand your awareness. Some of them might be a little bit uncomfortable, others might be slightly uncomfortable. But in the grand scheme of things, all we're cultivating is awareness. So there it is. There's no excuse to not have 10 to 15 minutes every day. Anybody can do this, whether it be in the morning, at night, or even in the afternoon. It's possible. Whenever, as long as it is there, and we're able to dedicate those 10 to 15 minutes, then that's it. There's no reward for this. There's nothing that we're seeking. Something else will begin to form in you, which is what we call peace, equanimity. Because the more you are aware of your mind, the more you are relaxed into that which is most intimate to you. And the more you are relaxed with what's most intimate to you, the more equanimous you're going to be with the rest of the world. And again, this is a promise that it's always stated in disciplined meditation, only because we become much more aware of all the things that are happening in our mind. Not because we're taking advantage of something or we are increasing some sort of vibration in the mind. All of these things are explanations of things that may happen or may not happen. It doesn't matter. The one thing that always happens is that there is a greater equanimity in us, and that may be reflected as an overall better vibration or better state of mind or mood, but it's not always the case. And our being simply vibrates in different ways. All we're doing is becoming aware of how the mind is, how our mind works, and what is it that is coming through in the moment that requires most attention. That's it. This is how the mind stops being that master, which is always telling us what to do, how to behave, and how to feel, and it becomes more the servant, that which is now at the service of this awareness, because we have become aware of what it is that it wants to do and what it is that it wants to avoid. There's a higher intelligence that works here and that allows things to fall in place as they should. And that is what we call liberation, alignment, or simply life's purpose, what you want to do. I hope this video is helpful, that you take those 10 to 15 minutes without any excuse. One last thing that I'll tell you here is that if you look back at the prior days and you see that you didn't meditate for those 10 and 15 minutes, take away the guilt and the punishment that usually comes up as thoughts, as saying, oh, I didn't meditate, I'm failing, maybe I shouldn't do it because I keep failing. Take away that, but also do not buy into the excuse that, oh, well, I didn't have enough time, or I had to take my kids, or whatever reason. Don't buy into that. Take full ownership to the fact that, okay, I could have done it. Where could I have done it? And that's it. So no guilt and no buying the excuse. Just simply stay with the truth, be honest with yourself, and realize that, okay, I see a place where I could have done it. In the future, I'll pay attention to that. And you keep doing this. So even if you don't meditate, you can still reflect back, analyze, and see where you can fit your meditation practice. 10 to 15 minutes. Once you start loving this over time, then you can expand it to whatever time you want. And if you're doing this already for 45 minutes or an hour, then that's something of your consideration. You shouldn't be watching this video either. So again, I hope this video is helpful and the tips that I give here can actually be implemented in your life, because again, there's no excuse to find those 10 to 15 minutes. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.